Before I want to talk about what Americans are doing, I would like to put this in a context, if I might, what I think is the enormous challenge for world Catholic theology, and then what the American contribution might be. It might be helpful to know, it's a biographical point, but that for 30 years I was part of the Concilium movement from Europe and the journal Concilium, which is an international journal that appears in 7 languages and brought together people like Gustavo Gutierrez and Leonardo Boff and Hans Kung and Edward Skillebeeks, etc. And we would meet each year and plan issues and whatever. And over a long period of time, it seemed to me that the continuing challenges to Catholicism in the post-Vatican period are, one, to become what Rahner said already began at Vatican II, but was never implemented, to become truly a world church where Rome is a conduit but not an imperious controller of, truly enculturated theologies in Africa and Asia and Latin America. And where, as a world church, we approach issues of globalization and justice connected with globalization, and we approach some major shifts and differentiations going on through globalization, and part of that is, of course, the role of women. Okay. So it seems to me that, something like the dialogue between first world and third world theology is central. Something like the role of feminist theology is central. And something like a real care for enculturating your theology in your own culture in ways that are both, culturally appropriate, and yet, since no culture is totally worthy of the gospel, also intention. Okay. So it seems to me these are the things that one would look to for, in terms of an American contribution. Now, one leaps at us in world theology, and that is the feminist theology. It is very clear to me that the feminist issue is not just an American issue. Far from it. Far from it. It's everywhere. But because it arose first in a certain kind of way in the American context, feminist theology makes a major contribution and challenge. One of the things that impresses me, although it seems quite esoteric in some ways, in the last years in theology, is the retrieval of a deep sense of the reality of the Holy Trinity as a unity with difference that respects difference, as the model of what community ought to be like. I mean, all this language about communion as being modeled on the life of the Trinity. And certainly one person who stands out for me is Elizabeth Johnson, who really does feminist theology out of this deep Trinitarian sense of community. And I think that that's a great contribution that American theology makes to the world church.